Week 10 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few players I'd look to stash before either break out or they get an expanded role. So this is a time to go out there and get these players before teams in your fantasy leagues go out there and get them and you miss out. Where right now you don't have to waste fab money or a waiver wire claim to get these players. First player, Audric Estime of the Denver Broncos. Estime, he's back for this Denver Bronco team after he was banged up first few weeks of the season. And now there's reports coming out he could get an expanded role. Javonte Williams really hasn't done much. Obviously, Jaleel McLaughlin's only a passing downs back, and they need more production in between the tackles and a three-down type of back. So Estime, like I said, he's starting to get more work over the last couple weeks. And this Bronco team, their team on the verge of trying to make a wild card. So the last few games for Estime, Week 7 in New Orleans, 5 carries, 29 yards, a fumble loss. Week 8 versus Carolina, carry 4 yards. And then last week, I know it was garbage time, but he looked decent. 5 carries, 35 yards, so 7 yards of carries. So this week, a tough matchup at Kansas City. But like I said, with the report coming out early in the week that he could get an expanded role, and he was starting to eat into the workload before he went on IR early in the season. So he's out there in 98% of fantasy leagues. And I think as a speculative ad in 12-team leagues or deeper isn't a bad idea for owners this week. The next player is Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. I know he's owned in 58% of leagues, only out there in 42% is Tillman, but he's operating as the number one wide receiver for this Cleveland Brown team. Week 7, since he got in the lineup with Amari Cooper traded, 8 catches, 81 yards, 2-point conversion, 12 targets. Week 8 versus Baltimore, 7 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. In Week 9 versus the Chargers, 6 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. So in the last 3 ball games right now for Cedric Tillman, the targets are way up there, 32, and they run by week. Now you could easily go on the waiver wire and get him on your roster right now is Tillman, out there in 42% of fantasy leagues, and he's operating as the number one wide receiver. And this Brown team's going to be trailing a lot this season, where there's going to be a lot of opportunities. Next player, Ricky Pearsall of the San Francisco 49ers. So this 49er team obviously needs help at the receiver position. Brandon Ayuk out for the season. Pearsall was a first-round pick for San Francisco. And so far in 2 games, he's appeared in Week 7 versus Kansas City, 3 catches, 21 yards. And Week 8 versus the Cowboys, a carry on an end around 39 yards, 4 catches, 38 yards. So this week, good matchup at Tampa Bay. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if Pearsall goes out there and is a game. Like I said, Ayuk, he's out for the season. And him and Jawan Jennings, it's going to be a competition for routes and obviously playing time between these 2 receivers. So Pearsall, if you want to take a flyer and a possible breakout talent, and like I said, he was a first-round pick for a reason. He's out there in 68% of fantasy leagues. The next player, Demarcus Robinson of the Los Angeles Rams. So Robinson, the last 2 weeks, he's found the end zone. Puka Nacua, not 100% with the knee, even though he played the last couple weeks here, is Puka Nacua. And last week, he just got tossed out of the ball game, and that's why he was out quickly. And Robinson stepped into the role. Week 8 versus Minnesota, 2 catches, 35 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Week 9 at Seattle, 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. So 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks here for Demarcus Robinson. Last season in the second half, we saw him have a big half. Obviously, when the Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are both healthy. And he's getting the one-on-one coverage and making plays. So right now, another good matchup versus Miami, where their defense can't stop anyone. Demarcus Robinson, definitely a wide receiver to stash this week, available in 74% of fantasy leagues. Next player is Mike Williams of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Mike Williams, he got traded from the Jets to the Steelers. And obviously with Devontae Adams' deal a few weeks ago, he was an expendable player, was Mike Williams at the receiver position, coming off the ACL. And I think he's going to fit Pittsburgh pretty well as the number 2 wide receiver behind George Pickens. And we know Russell Wilson always likes that deep ball threat. For years, he made a living with Tyler Lockett in Seattle. And over the last couple seasons, Sutton was the deep ball threat, and Mims at times where he was with Denver. So on the season, Mike Williams, it's been a bad year, no doubt about it. 12 catches, 166 yards on 21 targets, but he's going to step right in to the number 2 wide receiver role. Alvin Austin is more of a slot guy and a 3rd wide receiver. So Williams, we know he's a big deep ball threat. We know he's a big target. And like I said, it takes a half a year to a year to get 100% healthy coming off an ACL. So I think Williams, he's right at that timeline right now where I think he could contribute. And this Pittsburgh Steelers team desperately needs a number 2 option in the passing game, and he's available in 84% of fantasy leagues. And the final player look to stash is Ray Davis of the Buffalo Bills. So Davis, he's been on this list a whole lot this season, out there in 71% of fantasy leagues. I think he's a top 3 handcuff running back in all fantasy football, and backup in NFL is Ray Davis. So Davis, it's been an impressive rookie season. The last, believe it, 3 out of 4 weeks, he's had double-digit fantasy points, is Ray Davis. Week 6 at the Jets, where he filled in 20 carries, 97 yards, 3 catches, 55 yards. Week 7 versus Tennessee, 5 carries, 41 yards, a touchdown, a catch, 6 yards. Week 8, you didn't see much, 6 carries, 29 yards. And Week 9, on limited touches, 2 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown, 4 carries, 20 yards, including a 63-yard screenplay to the end zone. So Ray Davis, he's playing good football for this Buffalo Bill team. Like I said, if James Cook went down with injury, he could step right in and be a top 15, 20 option, worst case, weekly for fantasy owners. So right now, if you got a roster spot and want to take a flyer on Davis, he's out there in 31% of fantasy leagues as a handcuff. A few plays I look to stash for Week 10 of the fantasy football season.